Hello, and welcome to a new edition of Education the Best Medicine. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We are going to get this right one day, I promise. This is a restart of the show. Thank you for tuning in. Again, as I explained before, there's some internet difficulties, and so for those that are viewing us Facebook Live, you'll have to catch us on YouTube because the signal just keeps going in and out in the discussion. We'll see what happens. Want to say thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank my guest last week, Kaya Fortune, for week before last for doing the show. And I want to again thank you for watching and listening. Hey, been challenging times, new job, new situation, changing life issues, birth of a grandson. My son's birthday, April 22nd. Interesting. I was saying that, he had a son in the same month he was born. So that says a lot. I want to thank Portia, the baby mother, for hanging in there. I want to also thank all you folks that try to entertain parenthood, work with your children in order to make those things happen. It's tough. It's never been easy, and so we go. And I said, well, I guess my belief is that change is ongoing and in the country. So I thought I'd dig back, kind of go backwards. Figure out my birthday, July the 4th. And I was just having these recent discussions. And so I was kind of like, because people are asking, like, well, why are you talking about this? Talking about slavery, talking about, institutional structural racism in medicine, and us being tested on, and so I have to say this from a point of the start of my dip into media and into understanding that this needs to be a megaphone, a voice for different points of view and change. Because right now, the point of view and change is being constructed in a view that's myopic and lacks credibility. So we have to always be mindful of that to be protected and address things as, from a truth standpoint and not from a standpoint of anger or hostility or anything that we have been pegged with. So I think that I kind of understand why and where we're going to, and kind of want to hope you kind of take this travel with me. And I think it's been a narrative on African Americans that are considered to be lazy and stupid and don't want to get off their backs. The women are promiscuous, the men are oversexed. And that is basically a very racist trope. And I kind of wanted to have a discussion about a recent discussion by the current commander-in-chief. They said Trump says Smithsonian focuses too much on how bad slavery was. And for those that are on their phones, we're having a alert, and they're saying that it's a danger alert. It says a silver alert has been activated by the California Highway Patrol on behalf of the San Diego Police Department, and you can see the text of the individual. So just be aware of that, and as it signs off. So that being said, so it's hey, the times we live in, right? So it says Trump says Smithsonian focuses too much on how bad slavery was. The human toll of slavery and its aftermath is staggering, often underestimated in raw numbers. Here's a synthesis of historical estimates and scholarly consensus. So I want people to kind of understand some of the data. So let's start with the Middle Passage. Estimated deaths during the transit between 1.8 to 2.4 million Africans died during the Middle Passage. The forced voyage across the Atlantic Ocean from Africa to the Americas. Mortality rates were roughly between 15 and 20%. Enslaved Africans perished due to disease, malnutrition, abuse, suicide aboard slave ship, and in some cases, overtaking the slave ship. I think that we kind of need to understand what's trying to be painted here in this present administration is a whitewashing of the truth. Remember, I always said in the onset, lies are truth, truth's a lie. I want to thank folks for hanging in there and watching the show. Please share the show with everyone that you can. I think it's important that we get the kind of information from a long version, just like sound bites. There is historical information. I use a GPT chat. I use the AI Meta. I use a lot of the plant searches I do are supported by facts. And so the mortality, imagine 15 to 20% of people dying on their travel to the Americas, right? So in total traffic, estimated 12.5 million Africans forcibly transported, but only 10.7 million survived the journey. So they transported 12.5 million, but they ended up with 10.7 million. That's 2.5 million people lost just in traveling here. They didn't even get here. That's why when you see these pictures with the African slave with chains around the neck and half water, they're showing a lot of women too. That's what they experienced. Those that did not make it, those on whose shoulders we stand. That's what that's meant by. So slavery wasn't that bad, right? Let's keep that in context. The current person elected to the office says that slavery wasn't that bad. Reconstruction and Jim Crow between 1865 and 1965, not too distant. Just from racial violence, thousands of African Americans were killed in massacres, i.e., the Colfax Massacre, the Memphis riots, and targeted attacks by white supremacist groups like the Ku Klux Klan, and they still exist today. So, slavery was not that bad. So this is the remnant of slavery that we deal with in 2025, that Shadur Sanders is dealing with today, that I am dealing with today, and any African American is dealing with today. Remember, slavery wasn't that bad. While exact numbers are hard to qualify regarding the violence and systemic oppression during the century-long period inflicted immense harm on folks. So you talk about the effect of slavery, not only in terms of people dying, but the institutional and structural racism that prevented a person from getting a home, prevented a person from getting a job, prevented a person from being treated in the hospital, prevented a person from traveling without being harassed. But slavery wasn't that bad. What exact numbers, again, are hard to qualify, the violence and systemic oppression during the century-long period inflicted immense harm. Reconstruction between 1865 and 1887. Deaths from racial violence, thousands of African Americans were killed in massacres. Injuries and displacement, tens of thousands were injured, terrorized, or forcibly displaced from their land and homes. So 40 acres and a mule didn't happen. Give me you're tired and and restless and old and young, yearning to be free didn't happen. Jim Crow, 1877 to 1965. So we're talking about a period where have been enslaved. Remember, slavery wasn't that bad. And then we go through a period where there's visible and widespread and institutionalized oppression of us. But slavery wasn't that bad. What other group has come in here and had to deal with a system that was so demonstrative that they had to rewrite the Constitution and add the 14th Amendment in? Because you had to naturalize folks that you had to enslave. You know, that was traumatic for this country. They would have preferred for it to be a slave holding country, but for order to play on the world stage, that couldn't be a narrative that they were going to have in place. Are you listening to Believe Radio, 24-hour inspirational gospel music station? And so, folks, that's why I talked about slavery earlier in this time, earlier in my media career, because you have to have this discussion. America isn't America without slavery. It does not exist in the form it does now. Who was going to do the work? Who was going to work for free? Who was going to manufacture babies? And in another discussion that we'll have to term X-rated, we're going to talk about the sex plantations. Basically breeding grounds for slavery. For those because at one point in time they had to stop the influx of people through the Middle Passage because it didn't look good on the world stage. So what was here in terms of Africans taken from their homeland to America and in place there, they had to breed more of them. Breeding, right? But slavery wasn't that bad. Again, my support is the Eyes of Conscious Soul, Ms. Barbara Howard. Ms. Howard is the principal in Eyes of Conscious Soul, and is doing the lead concerns I work with her at. Appreciate her help. Went to a family reunion, good stuff. It's always good to hook up with family. Jim Crow. 1877 to 1965, because I'm born in 1955. Lynchings, well, Emmett Till, just name an African American that wasn't at risk of being lynched. Not just in the South, too, the North it happened also. These things would happen all over. Oh, we don't want to make the country look that bad it was. State-sanctioned violence. Countless others died or were injured by police brutality, prison labor camps, in denial of medical care, or the protest psychosis. Go to YouTube, look that video up, and it starts with 4 or 5 women sitting around, and get your popcorn and take a listen to what happens when. And they'll tell you it was the best science of the time. And we've talked about it. The protest psychosis states how a mental health diagnosis became a racial diagnosis. That being schizophrenia. So, the total impact. I have to keep myself honest because we are taking our time. It's about 4:15. We're 15 minutes into the show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please share the show with folks and family. It's on YouTube. We're going to expand the platform. That's going to be one thing we'll do. I'm going to start writing a lot more. I'm excited about that aspect of my life. I've reduced my work schedule so I can do that. So you have to do some things that are good for you and healthy for you. You just can't systematize. Yeah, my grandbaby's going to get anything I got, but got to take care of you too. So, total estimated impact. While it's impossible to assign a precise number to all the deaths and injuries post-slavery, historians estimate that millions of African Americans were directly or indirectly harmed. So we have even lost count. So many of us have been injured and or killed or in a ditch somewhere or a prison camp or You're losing count. You are losing count. But remember, slavery wasn't too bad. We should emphasize the good points of slavery, and I'm trying to. I'm trying to show what happened downstream in terms of this illicit market. So some of the offshoots of that was physical violence, economic deprivation, medical neglect, legal disenchantment. The legacy isn't just historical, it's systemic and ongoing. If you're working on public health or equity initiative, you can frame these numbers in a way that supports advocacy, policy, or education. So let's kind of relive what the current commander-in-chief said. The remark made as the president was to order a wide-ranging review of museum exhibits added to his pattern of minimizing Black history. President Trump's approach to cultural institutions and historical narratives against our GPT chat, we kind of synthesized it. In August 2025, Trump posted on the Truth Social how media is so important in getting out a message that someone wants you to have about you or all the people. So we have to consistently fight these images and fight these media concerns with programs like mine. You have to do that. You have to be okay with being okay, with saying and telling the truth. Telling the truth that's a lie and a lie that's the truth. Don't do it. I always try to make this real. The remark made the president has ordered a wide-ranging review of museum exhibits added to his pattern of minimizing Black history. President Trump approach to approach your cultural institution and historical narrative. In August 25th, he posted on Truth Social that the Smithsonian Museums are out of control, claiming they focus excessively on how horrible our country is and how slavery was and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. He argued the museum should highlight success, brightness, and the future instead. So, and you have to ask, how in 2025 has slavery, which I thought was past, how the discussion of how it happened, which I thought was understood, and the reason why it continues to be an ongoing discussion in the American psyche. Because you have to ask that. You have to ask why this keeps coming up. And it keeps coming up because, like the Epstein files, it's never going to die until it's revealed. You can draw a parallel between slavery and Epstein files. Something you don't want to know about, don't want to see, it didn't really happen, but you know it did. So come clean with it. That's the problem. America's history is America's history. It can't be a whitewashed history. This statement coincided with a White House directive to conduct a sweeping review of Smithsonian exhibits ahead of the 250th anniversary. This review targets 8 major museums, including the National Museum of African American History and Culture, and stated the goal of removing improper ideology and promoting American exceptionalism. So the lie is the truth, and the truth's a lie. So we're going to replace the truth with American exceptionalism, which is defined as being better than somebody else, being better than the group you are saying that you treated well. So, and it's amazing no one's having a discussion around this. It says, critics include historians and civil rights leaders have accused Trump of attempting to whitewash history and suppress narratives about slavery and segregation, systemic racism. Representative Sidney Callagher Doe responded bluntly, slavery was bad, Donald. It's absurd that this even needs to be said. This is what I'm saying. If you accept history, you accept this as an aspect of history and the truth of the history, then you need to move forward. But you can't because it doesn't paint the narrative in the narrative that you like, which is not uncommon. This is America's history. Lies are truth, truth's a lie. But now you just can't just lie about it and keep lying, and no one call you on it. Increasingly, Trump's stance contrasts sharply with his 2017. Oh, 2017, he was running for president. He visited the African American Museum, where he praised the exhibit and called the museum incredible and done with love. The shift of tone has made many question that this is a part of a broader political strategy to reshape public memory and cultural discourse. Of course, if thy eye offend thee, then pluck it out. If you don't like the message, if you don't like the data, then shoot the messenger. Fire the head of labor and statistics because it's not the data that you want to hear. And that's what kings do and create cartocracies. Look it up. Kakistor, catastrophe. It's a powerful term. And I asked it, if that's the case, what kind of world are we living in? What's the word for a group person that wants to change the narrative? So, a powerful term for this kind of leadership is called catastrophe. A government run by the least qualified or most unscrupulous individual. It becomes from the Greek word kakos, bad, and katos, rule. Bad rule. Latin for bad rule. Do you think that's what we're going through? Bad rule? And it describes a system where those in power actively undermine the institution they are meant to steward. But if you're looking for a broader conceptual framework, hey, they gave it to us. And I think that we have to be okay with that. And kind of on the side of that, Proposition 36. Proposition 36 was in last Sunday's Tribune. And at first, I thought it was talking about the care courts, because that's where I'm at. But Proposition 36, what is Proposition 36? Proposition 36 is officially titled allows felony charges and increased sentences for certain theft and drug crimes. It was approved by voters in November 5th, 2024, with overwhelming support. Key provisions include treatment mandated felony individuals with 2 or more prior drug convictions who are caught possessing fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, or cocaine may be offered treatment instead of prison. Completed result in dismissal. Failure to complete may lead to up to 3 years in prison. Isn't that deep? Catastocracy. And so, remember, California's voted for this, so I like to kind of like check in, because as a health provider, I'm gonna have to see some of these folks. We're gonna have to manage their family. We have to have a discussion with them about this. Enhanced theft penalty, repeated low-level theft, shoplifting under 950 can now be charged as a felony with 3 sentences up to 3 years, even with value thresholds exceeded through multiple thefts or by groups acting together. Courts must warn people distributing dirty drugs such as fentanyl that they could face murder charges and death result. So far, how is it working out in California with Prop 36? Prop 36, how's it working out? We need to educate ourselves on things because they affect all the communities that I work in, all the people that I care about. So how's it working out? The law took effect December 18, 2024. Early data shows prosecutors are actively employing the new provision of probably 1,900 drug and for 1,500 theft cases already have been filed by Prop 36 in early 2025. Law enforcement have wrapped up arrests via sting and publicized enforcement in counties like Sacramento, San Francisco, Solano, Redding, Kern. No Oakland. How about that? Implications for those that are affected. Individuals with prior offenses. More at stake. Repeat offenders face felony charges for crimes once considered minor, impacting criminal records, housing, jobs, and other opportunities. Forced treatment risk. While treatment is encouraged, failure to complete it carries real prison penalties, raising concerns about the coercion and effectiveness. Okay. So, and are there adequate resources to provide care? Not currently. So, interesting, huh? Things that they want to have happen, people that are going to arrest, but at the end, no treatment. I think that's abusive. I think that's traumatic. I think we should be concerned with that. So, again, slavery, right? And again, back to 1619. Black woman wrote their book, 1619. Go check it out. Good stuff, good stuff. And so, we've had a lot of discussions, and I just want to kind of mention that, the U.S. presidents who were slave owners, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson holds a special place in my heart. James Madison, the framers of the Constitution, those that made America great. James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, James K. Polk, Zachary Taylor, Andrew Johnson, and Ulysses S. Grant. All were slave owners. Signers of the Constitution, who were slave owners. Remember, slavery wasn't that bad. Slavery was not that bad. If it wasn't that bad, how come the founding fathers signed up and didn't say anything about it? Because it made them very wealthy men. And so, signed the U.S. Constitution was slave owners. John Blair, William Blount, Pierce Butler, George Clymer, William Few. Okay. They give the countries to John Blair, Virginia, William Bolt, North Carolina, Pierce Walker, South Carolina, George Clymer, Pennsylvania, William Few, Georgia, Benjamin Franklin, Pennsylvania, Nicholas Gilman. And they always talk about how conflicted these folks were. They were having slaves and having sex with slaves and slave women and having sex with the slave men and taking the kids and selling them and breaking up families. They always say America was conflicted. Well, witness that confliction now in 2025. And they said it's important to note that many of the founding fathers who owned slaves were conflicted. Well, they weren't conflicted enough to release them or change the dialogue until they were forced to. That's when you know the writings are always an issue. And to understand that, I asked myself, in this issue of saying slavery was not that bad, what's going on with Shadur Sanders? You have to applaud the black man and family for just trying to be a black family and for a black man who tries to address his son and try to be there for him. I don't think that's a bad thing. Black men are always accused of not being family, not taking care of our children. Now you're doing too much for your children. Isn't that interesting? They didn't say that about Manning or the Trumps or or the Bushes, nothing. But slavery wasn't that bad. So I asked GP to chat about it, and so this is what they said. Shedeur Sanders' journey as a young black quarterback, the famous former NFL legend Deion Sanders, offers a compelling lens to how race, class, and culture intersect within the American system of power, visibility, and gatekeeping. I'm going to read that again. Shedeur Sanders offers a compelling lens into how race, class, and culture intersect within American system of power, visibility, and gatekeeping. Let's talk about race, class, and culture implications. Racial bias and perception of leadership. Despite the performance metrics, Shedeur fell to the 5th round on 2025 NFL draft and moved viewed as racially coded. So he was the best player. You're told to be the best in America. Work hard, and the light will shine on you. That's what he did. So I didn't look it up, but there was a period of time, we're talking about probably 1800s, that forget football, baseball. If you were a black man, you couldn't play, and you could be better than anybody else on the field. Just couldn't handle it. You'd be the best boxer, not be able to fight. The best jockey. The initial jockeys in the Kentucky Derby were all black. And some of the best riders in the world. But you don't hear about that. You just hear about Mint Juleps and all that kind of stuff. So, black quarterbacks have historically been scrutinized more harshly than the intangible leadership, humility, and coachability than their white counterparts. Shedeur's confidence and polish were interpreted by some as arrogance. Class and culture capital. Shedeur didn't come from the traditional power schools, Alabama, Ohio State, but from Jackson State at HBCU. Hey, how about that? From Jackson State at HBCU in Colorado. His trajectory challenged the dominant pipeline of elite white institutions feeding into the NFL. Break the narrative, break the mold. Scares you. His father's fame gave him visibility, but also baggage. Deion Sanders' unapologetically black excellence, loud, proud, and disruptive made some NFL executives worried of the media circus that might follow him. Well, I grew up with Deion Sanders, and what you had to say about Deion Sanders is that he was one of the baddest ass players to play as a cornerback. He went to multiple teams, pro teams, major teams, and won championships. That's what he's about. He also had his foot amputated from the play. So it was not without great price. He's also had a bout of cancer, bladder cancer. And he talked to, and I'm advocating for men, as I've always advocated, to get checked out, get themselves checked out. I just went for my annual physical and blood pressure check, and it's all the things you need to do. You can't take care of yourself. Most heart disease and cancer is asymptomatic. You don't know it's happening until it takes you out the box. But back to Shedeur. Respectable politics. The NFL, like many American institutions, often rewards black athletes who conform to a narrow mold. Humble, differential, grateful. Shedeur's refusal to shrink himself to fit that was even a threat to the status quo. Vis-a-vis, a rookie has the #1 NFL selling jersey. And I would be careful about buying an NFL jersey. Know where you're buying it from. Get online and make sure that if you're going to buy a jersey with his name on it, he gets the money. That we got to do that now. You just can't give the money to anybody that he don't respect us. So I want to thank I can't say the name, but it's one of the major outlets for letting their CEO go after removing the EEI policy. But what I say is about that, they removed that individual, but they put the same type of person in there, only he's just younger. In fact, he was probably on the team to decide that DEI need to be removed from their business statement, from how they operate as a company. That's what it is. Those that want to remove DEI from their dialogue are saying that we want to choose who we want to choose. And if you're better qualified than who's there, I just want to choose who I want to choose. My brother, my sister, my mother, And there's been a question about collusion, right? And you can see it in higher education admissions. Legacy admissions to elite universities disproportionately benefit white wealthy families. Meanwhile, affirmative action policies designed to level the playing field have been rolled back, reinforcing racial and class privilege, right? And in fact, Stanford has decided that a individual donor wants to continue to give money, they're going to let their kid in. You go ahead on, Stanford. You go ahead on. See, structural and institutional racism is ongoing. We have to get ready for that, accept it, not be so complacent about it. This is not the time to be complacent. It's not any time to hide under the sheet. That's why when African Americans of power and status pimp the community, traumatize it, and then wonder why they're not supported, I just laugh. You have to laugh because it's stupid. Why would you? Anyway. So, corporate hiring and promotions. This is some of the places this go. Black professionals have always faced a double bind. They must be exceptional, be considered, yes, yet not too confident or too vocal, lest they be labeled difficult or unfit for leadership. All these labels, right? What people say about you. Cognitive dissonance. Let me label you a certain way so I can be comfortable around you. If you're not that way, then you can't be around me. I want to thank all the folks that are watching. I appreciate you. Please put the program out. We're going to be doing some more interesting things. I can find all these old DVDs. I'm probably sending folks. Gotta have a DVD player, right? You still have DVD? Yeah. So, housing and urban development. So, redlining may be illegal, but it has a legacy persists. Black families are more likely to be denied loans, steered away from high-value neighborhoods, or face inflated interest rates. Okay. So whatever is costing America, it's costing us doubly more. And if you don't want to spend your money where you think a vendor is racist towards you, then that's less money you spend. So even though you can treat me with disrespect and say I can't work there and say you don't want me to be equal and say any of that stuff, I'm supposed to come and spend money at your business. That's what the Montgomery boycott was about. You're gonna be racist toward me. There's no black child, and I gotta sit in the back of this bus. So I'm paying for this. My money doesn't say 3/4 when you put it into the system. It says a quarter. It doesn't say 3/5. The human being says full measure. Put the coin in. So what does Shadura represent? I'm gonna kind of end this. We're at 3:39. I got another 15 minutes. We got 15 minutes to get to. So what does Shadura represent? Shadura isn't just a quarterback. He's a symbol of generational black excellence that refuses to apologize for its presence. His fall in the draft wasn't just about football. It was about cultural referendum of how America still struggles with confidence, visible, and self-possessed Black leadership. I would rally that. And that while your work, whether it's public health, equity, or housing justice, matters because these patterns of collusion aren't isolated; they are systemic, and they demand systemic disruption. And some of these ways this breaks down, just for Alameda County example. Alameda County Public Health Department has long documented how place, racism, and poverty shapes health outcomes. The landmark report, Life and Death from Unnatural Causes, reveals that the zip code is often a stronger predictor of life expectancy than the genetic code. So where you live and what you're eating, how you get to work, and what school is more important than your genetics. And what we find is persistent poverty zones, neighborhoods with high poverty since 1970 show low life expectancy, higher crime rates, and reduced access to care. I have a true story about that because I had a good friend of mine who was schizophrenic, and he constantly was rolled over at the ER, Hyden Hospital ER, because that's somewhere he could go because of his insurance. He ended up costing the county about $2.5 billion in charges, and he died of diabetic complications, heart disease complications, of malnutrition complications, of psychosis complications. Model minority myth. Asian and Pacific Islander communities are often overlooked in equity efforts despite facing unique health disparities. Beloved Birth Black Centering, a groundbreaking initiative to reduce preterm births and improve maternal outcomes for Black women by offering culturally relevant wraparound care. And we've talked about this. I've been in medicine 43 years. Infant mortality in African American women was number one, and today it is number one. Only women have insurance. They have better access to care. That's still my present grandchild was pregnant. Kaylee, and she's big, bubbly, and cute. I put her on my thing all the time. I'm gonna put her on after the show because I love her. That's my girl. We miss her mother. We miss her mother because this young person had no right to take her life over a car. And if there's a motivator for me, it's her and why I continue to do this work. I learned that for Black women who are murdered, they know the attacker, it's a handgun. The individual usually never did anything like this. In this case, he was a gang member. So, and that I love about domestic violence, about all that. So, I think that whether it's the Black quarterback draft or maternal health care or housing and board decision, the American system often rewards conformity to white cultural norms, punishes visibility and self-advocacy from Black individuals, and uses neutral politics to perpetuate unequal outcomes. Structural and institutional racism. I think that we have a far way to go. We have been blessed, and at this point in time, have to keep it moving forward. I want to thank all those that have been in this journey with me, continue to be so. I always say that, we do the best that we can with what we have. And I think that will always be the determining factor in how we function, how we do. Things are the best they can be for where we're at now. And if someone had told me I had a new grandson, Yeah, in the same month that my son was born, I would have said coincidence. Yeah, what's supposed to be? Yeah, yeah. I want to say hello to my girls, uh, all four of them. Kaylee, uh, I posted them on my website, on my Facebook website. Uh, we had they came over. I guess it was like 2011, and had they cooked, we ate, went shopping. I saw my female side close and personal. Uh, they are. I'll never forget them. Hopefully, they never forget me. Uh, they can come see me anytime they want to. We make it work. Uh, want to thank everyone for their patience and growth with me as we grow this out. Uh, I'm excited about the new position I have. It's internal medicine, um, and working with a wide range of different folks in different situations, which is what I like. I like the diversity. I like the difference. Want to say one final thing, and I want to insert it in the conversation that there's really an obesity epidemic, not uncommon, but also you have to be mindful of the drugs that were being used, and understand the foundation of any of these processes, particularly I'm talking about diabetes, hypertension, elevated lipids, is total lifestyle changes. That's education, that's exercise, that's food choices, that's stress reduction. Those are the foundations of any kind of healthy living program. And what I say to folks now is that I don't know if we can extend the length of your life, but we can surely make the quality as best it should be. And that's what we want it to be. And I think that one of the things that has been moved, and I don't want to personalize weight loss. I don't want to make any issue outside of the fact that you need to be healthy for your weight. You need to be able to walk and sit and sleep and rest and be active without being exhausted, without pain in your joints. That's the whole idea of taking care of yourself, not just physically, but mentally also. And because this is an environmental issue, this is a structural issue, this is a cultural issue, it's a multifactorial issue about our health. One of the aspects is obesity. Obesity leads to so many things like hypertension, elevated blood sugar, elevated cholesterol, body dysmorphia. You so one has to be kind of concerned with that. But we always have to be mindful of, I think, understanding that we are in different times now. Our children are becoming more obese, and approximately 1 in 5 children and adolescents are obese. And I don't talk to kids that much, but I got grandbabies. Obesity affects some groups more than others, like adolescents, Hispanic and non-Hispanic, Black children, and children in families with lower income, of course. But we see an explosion across the board. In fact, the more money you have, the more you eat junk and stuff. And if the family isn't, mother and wife aren't really on it, they're just as bad, maybe worse. And they have money. Again, it's not a money issue, it's a behavioral health change. So many U.S. children have obesity. So in 2017, March 2020, the prevalence of obesity among U.S. children and adolescents was 19.7%. That means the state of 100 children, 20 of them, or 19.7, are overweight. 14 million of U.S. youth ages 2 to 19 years have obesity. And obesity affects particularly some groups more than others. Obesity is a complex health condition with wide range of medical and psychological complications. In the overview of major issues associated with obesity are both areas of medical issues, of course, heart disease, hypertension, um, uh, excessive weight increases the strain on the heart, leading to elevated blood pressure, of course. And even if you don't gain weight, is the fact that your heart is aging and your physical aging makes the heart have to work harder. And any gains and changes in weight, salt, sugar will affect the heart. Heart disease, obesity is a major risk factor for coronary artery disease. Coronary artery disease is vascular change in vessels due to sugar, salt, fat. Particularly when you put those mixtures together, it creates a mixture that can attach to the vasculature, cause clotting, that kind of thing, which leads to heart attacks and strokes. That's why we want people to use. Can't change diet, plant-based, less salt, less sugar, less fat. Uh, Arteriosclerosis, to talk about it, hardening the arteries, is the buildup of fatty deposits in the vasculature and arteries, causing narrowing and reduced blood flow. Again, all these things can be addressed by total lifestyle change. Again, the major disease process, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, diabetes, are helped with total lifestyle changes. Not resolution, but just kind of giving you a better baseline. Um, it can be done. I'm watching Facebook and watching women 200 or 300 pounds over a program over time, exercising for food choices, they're losing weight. Some of it's genetics. Some of us going to have a little tired, but that doesn't mean we can't be healthy. Again, I want to thank my co-host, Isaac Conscious Soul Voice, Lee Radio. Thank Curtis for all his help and support getting the show started. We got to figure out how to kick the butt out. Also, respiratory problems, sleep apnea caused by weight. So I draw this correlation between multiple diseases and one major overarching risk factor, if not for genetics and age, is obesity. So again, joining both. Oh, my back and the neck hurt. I just can't keep the move. Yeah, the heavier you are, the more work on your joints, and less flexible and less mobile you are, the more pain. It's harder for me to run. It's hard for me to run, in this case, late married, just because I'm Asian. But it doesn't mean I can't run. It doesn't mean I can't work the body, right? Work the body. You have risk of osteoporosis, gout, GI problems, gallbladder disease, include gallstones, and inflammation of bladder, cholecystitis, which is the inflammation of the gallbladder. Reflux, gastro reflux. Again, sour taste in the back of the mouth, laying down, burning in the back, halitosis, gastric bloating. All those things tend to consist, again, smaller meal portions, more plant-based, less meat, less sugar, high quality. Cancer associated with many types of obesity associated with many types of cancers. They include the breast, colon, endometrium, kidney, and liver. So that's why it's the big bullying in the room. So why am I bringing all this? Is that, we have to manage these diseases in the way that we can, but we can't forget about the discussions about some of the adverse drug reactions of medicines. And I want to kind of focus on one in particular because it's one of the drug classes, the GLP-1s. And the concern is that the GLP-1s are causing some changes that, of course, there's always adverse reactions to any drugs, and everybody can't take everything. But I think there's just some things that come up when I'm concerned about them, I have to talk about. So it's the Xenia, the Wegovy, Wegovy, right? Semaglutide, saxaglutide, Wegovy, you'll spell Wegobyn, trade name is semaglutide, Semaglutide. Again, these drugs are still formulated drugs. They're not generics for it. So unless you're either getting a write off, you're getting from a compound pharmacy, or you're getting from somebody that doesn't take the drug. So, and that is a concern because these are common drugs. Listen to them. Listen to their advertisements. See what they're saying. Because I tried to look at this the discussion on visual changes, and it was really hard for some of them. Now are giving you really small tidbits of information, but the bottom line is that it's not that much. And so I kind of looked into it, and this came up. Vision loss associated with GLP-1 receptor agonists primarily linked to the risk of worsening diabetic eye disease, especially in patients with pre-existing eye disease and during periods of rapid uh, glycemic improvement. That's the other. If you take the drug automatically, your blood sugar drops. Again, best drugs in the world, in the right people. But if you're having adverse risk from them, then you need to stop the drug and see your provider. That's what the take-home message. These drugs at this point should be monitored. Once you receive them, you should be seen by ophthalmology. It should be consulted by endocrinology to make sure dosing is proper and that there are no adverse things that are going on that will affect your vision. Because I think vision is a real big one. When let's talk about vision, and it's painless vision loss. You wake up and all of a sudden you can't see. It said the American Diabetes Association recommends baseline periodic ophthalmological evaluations of patients initiating or intensifying glucose-lowering therapies, including GLP-1 RA, due to the risk. The rationale is that the rapid reduction in A1C are seen with GLP-1 therapy can transiently worsen retinopathy, which is if you already have eye disease and you take these sugars to drop your sugar, then yeah, gets that A1C down from an 8 to a 6.5 or 7. Wow, that's a great drug. That's what it's supposed to do. But to the other side of that, you could cause changes in your vision that you didn't account for. Could make bad vision worse and vision that you have good diminish it. So again, it's because the drugs work so good. A phenomenon also observed with the insulin intensification. The ADA further emphasizes the need for retinopathy status assessment, ongoing monitoring to detect and manage potential complications early. There's no evidence in the medical literature of the toxic effect of GLP-1 on the retina. The concerns relate to the speed and the magnitude of the glycemic improvement. So the drug doing this job can cause risk in terms of sugar dropping so quickly inside the eye. They because nutrients to it. The background of the eye is nerves and vessels, like anything else. Blood vessels take nutrients to the eye, feed it. Nerves provide the sensitivity to open and close eyes and the iris and all those things. So, the American Diabetes Association expanding the need for monitoring in large studies to clarify the spectrum and magnitude of vision-related risks associated with GLP-1. GLP-1 risk is associated with a modestly increased risk of incidence of diabetic retinopathy, but not an increased risk of sight-threatening complications such as proliferative disease, diabetic macular edema, or neurovascular glaucoma or blindness. Again, as more people take this drug, those numbers are going to go up. And what I concern myself with is not the folks under care, although I am concerned about them. I'm also concerned about those individuals that buy these drugs online or from a compound pharmacy or from their friends or for a source not designated to ensure that you're getting the real drug. That's my saying on, again, regular ophthalmological screening, close monitoring remains essential for all patients with diabetes treated with GLP-1 regardless of pre-existing retinal status. So, that being said, I want to thank you folks for listening and watching out. Next week is Miss Howard. Miss Howard, thank you very much for coming on through. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for all you know. Be peaceful out there.